Raphael, Jekyll, Deep Finesse, Nerdcube, Simon May.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Y'all ready for this?
Get ready for Terra Mystica's Tuesday League.
Also, while we're at this, can you settle something? Deranged, Deragned. Can you pronounce it how you pronounce it in your head? Deranged.
Deranged is good. Deranged is good. Yeah. I've never actually pronounced it Deragned in my head. So if that settles anything for anyone, or if they don't trust me, then they're free to make their own judgments.
Okay. I just wanted to hear it from you. Now that we can hear your voice saying it out loud. Okay. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
We're here with the Terra Mystica Tuesday League Premier League game. Sweet table as always with the Premier League games. We've got a much less informal format than some of the other streams that have happened. For this league maybe. We're just going to be two of us sitting here chatting with me scrolling up and down. No fancy overlays. While these players are debating factions and everything, you want to real quick run down the player lineup we've got this week?
Yeah, sure. So we've got Deep Finesse, who has his home game this week. Deep Finesse, as you can see, is the top-rated player at this table currently. He's been number one in ELO rating, as has basically everyone here except Raphael, I think. He's currently leading the arena season, and this map actually is the arena settings, except that it also includes the Fire and Ice endgame scoring. We also have Raphael. I believe this is his first time playing in Premier League. Last week he played a really cool kind of tall Darklings game, tall and culty. Took, I believe it was 3 economic favors. That game, it was very interesting. Then we have Jekyll. Jekyll has not played a lot live, but she's reached number one ELO playing async games. And she's actually played a lot with Simon B, who's our fourth player here. She was also part of Team Asia, which I believe might have given her some good live experience, and especially by playing with Deep Finesse and some of the others there. Simon B recently also attained the number one rating. He made a really good run in Arena last season, and he's played in a few of the Fire 2 Open tournaments in the past as well. Curious to see how he does here today.
Yeah, this is an absolutely stacked table. We've got, Deep Finesse back at 700, and like you said, 3 people who have all recently been number one ELO. And then Raphael, who is the fourth, who's just been a staple of the top 10 for the last year and a half. So
yeah, man, every time that I get into an arena table and it's like Raphael's there, I'm like, oh my god, what did I do to deserve this?
Yeah.
Just gonna take another beating.
Yeah, he and Simon are
so
both.
You want to break down the setup?
Oh yeah, we might as well do that. They picked factions pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was pretty quick.
Like you were mentioning, so this is just ultra classic Deep Finesse in my mind. So Deep Finesse's home week picks fjords with landscapes. Maybe not that weird because it's the arena season, but maybe a little bit to disadvantage Jekyll because Jekyll doesn't play that much arena. So probably is less familiar with this format than I guess Deep Finesse is. But then also throws on expansion scoring. I feel like that's just a classic Deep Finesse thing to do, like something weird that players aren't as familiar with. And then throwing in halflings from the first seat, right? So yeah, we got halflings, dwarves, alchemists, chaos magicians. Honestly, dwarves, chaos magicians, alchemists are like all considered very good on this map. I think they're probably 3 of the top, 6 or so factions. Halflings are generally one of the weaker factions on this map, and that's why, I feel like Deep Finesse loves throwing them in, halflings with landscapes on this map. It's just like, it's a weird combo, and people won't know what to do with them. But anyways, breaking down the track real quick, we've got spades in the first round. Not usually that consequential unless we're going to see some crazy like halfling stronghold or something. But usually that's, someone's going to get the double spade and they'll get a few extra points, like no big deal. People are going to do what they're going to do. It's not going to warp anyone's game plan to convince them to go for a stronghold first or anything. We've got Stronghold Sanctuary round 2. What that says to me is that a faction like Chaos Magicians, for example, is probably going to prioritize being on the spade bonus tile. I think they often should anyways. Instead of building a sanctuary in the first round, I think Chaos Magicians getting to open Temple 2 Dwellings is a better opening, and more underrated in the sense people tend to go for the sanctuary more, but I think Temple 2 Dwellings is a better opening. And in this track, it means that Chaos Magicians are almost definitely going to go for that. They're going to start on the spade, attempt to get out Temple 2 Dwellings if they can, hopefully get a single spade or maybe a priest and advance their shipping or something, and then go for that sanctuary round 2. Round 3 towns. There's actually, any of these factions could theoretically do it. I think dwarves are probably the least likely, but, halflings have some spots where they can, do like a 3-dig town fairly easily, and halflings seem most likely to start off on the double spade, so I think halflings have a reasonable shot. Dwarves, like I said, probably not a round 3 town. Alchemists, just build enough stuff. I've done a round 3 town on this map before. They have plenty of 3-dig towns. If they're getting a stronghold in round 2, that can definitely help with that. And then Chaos Magicians have a reason to rush for the 2-key town. If they open Temple 2 Dwellings into a sanctuary, that's a very, it's very achievable to get a town from there. And then into another Stronghold Sanctuary event. Honestly, any of these factions could build, a stronghold or a sanctuary in that round, depending on what they do. And then Trading Post Dwelling in the last 2 rounds, generally fairly high scoring events, higher scoring than other things. So it's a reasonable track, for a lot of game plans to work with these factions. I think we're going to see economy be rewarded, because we've also, looking at the bonus tiles, we've got 3 scoring bonuses in the game. We're just missing the Trading Post one. So we've got a fairly high scoring track at the end of the game. I think it's a pretty good, track for economy. Anything I missed?
Yeah. So the one thing that I find interesting is I wouldn't have necessarily expected the bidding to be so spread out across 3 of the factions already. Nothing has gone below 25, and yet we've got bids on halflings, alchemists, and chaos magicians. It's pretty surprising, the kind of state of disagreement here over one faction being clearly better than another.
Yeah, I'm curious. We see deep it takes a rare table, right, to see Deep Finesse first bid something and to not follow suit, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm too used to playing arena games, but it feels like if there's a strong player in the first seat and they bid on something, people are just going to follow along and bid that thing down because I don't know, they're probably right, and how bad can Chaos Magicians be here? But we see all the rest of the bidding focused on halflings and alchemists. My initial thought was that halflings were the 30 faction. What do you think? Who do you think was 30 here?
So one of my initial thoughts, is that it's halflings and fjords. Brown has if you look at where the brown hexes are, they're kind of situated on the perimeter of the center island, and there's only one kind of central brown hex in that kind of a southwestern island, and that one you often have difficulty connecting. That, and you also add the fact that there's fire and ice scoring, and in this case we didn't mention it, but it's the greatest distance, but fire and ice scoring requires you to be connected. Halflings could struggle to connect because, if you want to start in that central location in the southwestern continent, then you might not be able to dig your way through to connect to the center stuff that you're also going to be building on. So it's pretty interesting to see that people are valuing halflings here. I'm wondering if that's because the final round dwellings, halflings and alchemists are the 2 factions that are going to have advanced digs. They will almost always advance their digs before round 6. So therefore, if they're placing dwellings, then they can also disrupt other people's. I'm just wondering if that's the logic. What do you think? That's leading to this type of valuation on halflings.
Yeah, I think. Those are the two biggest things I see going for halflings are. I think they're going to get the double spade in the first round, right? It seems fairly likely that maybe Chaos Magicians takes the spade, maybe Alchemists take a priest or 2 workers, Dwarves takes 2 workers, and then Halflings end up with worker power or something, right? I think it's a pretty reasonable idea that Halflings are going to get the double spade. They're in the first seat, so they're getting the most leech, so even if they don't start on a power tile, they're in good positions of leech as well, right? So like their leech situation, their opening is very good, I think. The problem for them is exactly what you were saying. And then the other thing that's good for them is, like if they can advance their digging, it's great for that late dwelling round. It's great for being able to disrupt any hexes of other people. Like dwarves often leave a bunch of gray hexes open till the end of the game when they want to do a bunch of jumping in the last round. Suddenly none of those are safe, right? The problem I see for them is...
Right, yeah, like I can definitely see like connection. Yeah, I can definitely see like connection being potentially an issue for dwarves here. Like they have that inherent scoring ability, but this is such like a high scoring economic track that advantage is probably, curtailed a little bit.
Well, they do have landscape, which is great. Dwarves landscape on this map gives you so many outs. Like I think connection can be pretty difficult if you don't have landscape. Like it's a lot trickier and you have to prioritize it much earlier in the game. And I think that's one of Dwarves' biggest weaknesses on this map, honestly, is that you have a lot of gray hexes available to you, but you might have to prioritize like jumping to a green hex or something just to get your connection in, early enough in the game. If you don't have landscapes, but when you do have landscapes, I found that like you can just put off connecting for so long because sometimes it'll be more awkward. You might have to do a double dig or something to drop your landscape on a hex, but you have so many more options with landscape. So I think that's pretty nice for dwarves. The thing I wanted to say for halflings though is I see them potentially not connecting, like with alchemists in the game. I think there's a lot of and chaos magicians in the game like scooping up yellows and red hexes and browns, right? Like I see halflings potentially really struggling to connect. And even if they do, dwarves, chaos magicians are both really strong on this map. Alchemists are going to win network and endgame scoring. Like halflings aren't going to be able to get their landscape down easily because they have no real incentive to build a stronghold this game. So I see halflings getting very few network points at the end of the game, both fire and ice, and the fire and ice scoring is greatest distance, by the way. We haven't talked about that, but I can see that being difficult for them, and I can see cults being difficult for them with chaos magicians and dwarves in the game, and halflings really would need all of their priests for shipping and dig advances. So like I can see halflings playing the track pretty well, but I just don't see them doing well in endgame scoring.
So one quick point from the chat. I think that they're saying that you have BGA sound effects on.
Not anymore. Good call. I always forget that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more. So we talked a little about dwarves and halflings. What about alchemists?
So like the definitive thing in a lot of these like alchemist games, anywhere that's not like that fire and ice map basically, is alchemists really look for that ship VP tile, right? Because, so the alchemists, like this game has started. Deep Finesse has jumped onto dwarves. But basically like that ship VP tile. Yeah, I know, for real. That ship VP tile is pretty like game defining for alchemists, right? Because as early as round 2, alchemists, like if they open with a temple and then they take like a priest power action and they pass on to a priest or something, they can reach 3 ship and hit all those corner hexes surrounding that central island in round 2 or 3, and then they'll have just 9 victory points every time they pass onto that tile. So that's one of the strongest suits for alchemists, along with it being just a generally high scoring game. But like they're specifically going to seek out that tile. With dwarves in the game, dwarves shouldn't compete for that tile. So I think that between that and like the big building tile, the alchemists definitely have a very strong type of game plan. It could be a fairly typical type of game plan where like they just try to ship early, try to frequently get on that tile, and then just build their big buildings like in the corresponding rounds, grab both Earth 1 and Water 1, and then just play the track really hard. It seems like alchemists are generally one of like the most robust factions on this map, just because like they ship out so early that no one's really going to get on them. Like no one's really going to compete with them for those hexes around that central island, right?
Yeah. The biggest thing, so I love Alchemist game here, but one interesting thing is that they chose to prioritize, let me turn on these hex numbers so I can talk about them. They chose to prioritize the C5 hex instead of G8. A lot of times there's kind of this like what is it, like this catch-22 dilemma between alchemists and halflings, where it's like, as alchemists, G8 is great to start on, but only if you get G7 and F7. And halflings would be fine starting on they don't love to start on G7, but they'd love to get there eventually, things like that. And alchemists starting way up on C5 to me says they have no plans of getting to G8 anytime soon, right? They need to get to 3 shipping, which is a ways away. So I think that's a bit of a break for halflings maybe, and we'll see. My guess is that as alchemist Simon wanted a neighbor, I think there's a chance he's planning like a double temple opening, starting on the 2 worker tile, and so he maybe wanted a neighbor with chaos magicians and dwarves, up there on C5, get some extra leech. But it is interesting to not see him care about G8.
Yeah, we have some chat. Weber is saying that today he played an arena game with Simon where Simon's played alchemist and started in these exact locations. I believe that Simon is like a big proponent, just like watching him play in the past, that he is a pretty big proponent of double temple alchemists, like an Earth 1, Earth 2 type of game plan. It gets you so much priest production. And we're seeing another possible reason why Simon started C5. Look at where Chaos Magicians have started. They started with 0 neighbors. Now they're going to, I assume that's the spade that they just took. So they're going to dig right down and immediately get neighbors. But they're going to be missing out on some of that initial leech. I think that a lot of that comes from Jekyll's very aggressive placement on E6 right there. That placement basically assured that Chaos could not start in their ideal leech spot, which would be D3. They would have gotten boxed in so quickly.
Yeah. And I think after this dwelling placement, what we can say is, I think Chaos Magicians came out pretty unfavorably. I think usually D3 is a better spot for like leech and forming towns, and it's just a little bit more in the middle of things. So, you can expand over to A9 and D6 eventually, and then you can also get to B5, D1, C3, hopefully, So I think that having to start E5...
Yeah, it does look like their initial town... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world, but like they're getting a little bit less leech. It's like, they're giving dwarves a few more chances to like beat them to A9 if they felt like, or someone to beat them to A9. And yeah, they're going to be the ones giving more leech to others as they dig down to F4, as opposed to them getting leech whenever one upgrades their initial building. So, yeah, I think this is rough for Chaos Magicians, and I think it's rough for Halflings too, because this E5 placement also says that Chaos Magicians might prioritize C4. They could also prioritize F5, like that's also a town, but maybe Alchemists are prioritizing F5 because they want a town there. So, if, for example, Alchemists prioritize F5 because F5 helps them connect and get a Sanctuary town, then Chaos Magicians are forced to prioritize C4, to build a bridge town there. And that's pretty bad for Halflings. C4 is going to be a really important hex for Halflings' ability to compete on the greatest distance. On 3 shipping, they can do some damage, but only if they can get up into those corners.
Yep. So I think that this actually makes like the passing game in round 1 very interesting, because if we look at the tile that wasn't taken among kind of like the quote 5 good economic start tiles, the one that wasn't taken is temp ship. So like if Chaos Magicians, for example, had the shortest round, they just take the spade and then they temple up for like Earth 2, Earth 1, or like Earth 2, Fire 1, and then they save all their power, then they could just pass right back onto this temp ship tile and then open next round with a double spade onto C4, for example, right? That would be, as you pointed out, that would be pretty rough for Halflings. But we will see, like, right now the leech is kind of going down as we expected. The upgrades are hacking in the center. Simon took a priest to open. Definitely wants to make sure that he's going to secure some ship advances next round.
Yeah.
He did start with a 2-worker tile, which seems to imply that he might be opening double temple.
Yeah.
But we don't know, right? We don't know. It could be a stronghold open. We don't know.
Yeah, I'll be really curious to see what Simon does. That's one of my struggles with Alchemists on this map, weirdly, is that they have so many options. Like especially with landscapes on, with this track, with the tile they started on, right? You're like, on the one hand, you're like, the stronghold's really good. It gets me my coin income going. It could help him take a worker's power action this round and get other stuff rolling. So like, Stronghold is great. It helps you get your landscape out. On the other hand, Stronghold next round would also be good. But on the other hand, next round you're going to have a bunch of priests. Maybe you could just advance your shipping and get all your dwellings then. And, but then when you're building your Stronghold, there's a lot of conflicting things that alchemists want to do here. They love temples to get Earth 1. They also love 2 temples to get their shipping, but they also love Stronghold to get their landscape and their coin economy up. So, I really don't know what alchemists will prioritize here. My guess is 2 temples.
Lots of options.
But yeah, it's certainly not clear. I think the fact that we've got these
so if we look at
we've got some good events for alchemists. We've got the Earth event followed by the Fire Worker event followed by the Earth event again. That to me says they want priests, right? They want priests to send to cults. He just took a priest power action. They want priests for shipping. So I'm expecting to see the double temple here from alchemists.
Yeah, I think it would be a huge mistake not to at least have 1 temple here for alchemists. Which, it feels very, very likely that at least 1 temple is getting built here. Chad is pointing out that there is a line where Simon could go Stronghold, Temple, 1 dwelling. I think that there might be enough power in the game to do that with the power boost from the Stronghold. That would be pretty interesting.
That'd be pretty nuts.
But, we don't know if that's going to happen.
That'd be pretty nuts if you could do that and then get on temp shipping round 2, and now you're at 3 shipping with a Stronghold and a temple out. There's so many options here. And
the Stronghold also opens up it's a landscapes game, right? So the Stronghold actually saves you 2 priests when you have landscapes if you're able to get a spade power action. Because when you drop your landscape, you can advance your digs and or your shipping without using the priests. And of course, coins are trivial to alchemists. They can just convert their victory points.
Yep. And I think that's crazy for alchemists here too, right? So this is one of the reasons why I was saying I loved alchemists and dwarves game after the placement. So it's not so much that I hated chaos magicians and halflings game as much as look at how much leech dwarves and alchemists are getting, right? Deep Finesse took a single spade this round, I think partially just because he's going to have enough stuff to take the double spade next round. Deep Finesse got a priest to earth for a bunch of power. He's sitting at the middle of this insane leech triangle. Whenever you get these leech parties of 4 people sitting around, 2 of them are, 2 people are going to kind of be the outside, 2 people are on the inside. Yeah. But alchemists and dwarves are benefiting the most from this. Chaos magicians and halflings are benefiting the least. So yeah, I love both alchemists and dwarves getting this much leech. This seems great.
Raphael has chosen to go economic with his start. The 2 favor tiles he's taken are Earth 2 and Fire 1, so he did not bother to secure Earth 1 in this round. Simon did take Earth 1 with the Temple. That was pretty expected. Alchemists are the single faction that most want Earth 1 in basically every single game. Here's Jekyll. Jekyll is also going to choose his favorite tile, and generally Jekyll plays rather economically, I believe. Her style just favors more economic games. I would be kind of surprised to see if she took Earth 1 here. When Earth 2 is a coins reward and a worker reward. It's Fire 1, which I find pretty interesting. I think that I have seen her play Fire 1 Halflings games before, so I'm not super shocked, but it's an interesting favor tile choice. It does look like kind of a coin type game without the 6 coins tile or the 4 coins tile in terms of passing.
Yeah, I think so. 2 things are going to be big about this. So one is that halflings want a ton of shipping on this map, especially early, right? I mentioned that G7 is available. So and C4 could be contested. So halflings are going to want to get 2 shipping ASAP, and so they're going to really want those coins. The interesting thing is going to be though here, what I was just about to point out, chaos magicians are passing first. I feel I love Fire 1 halflings, when they can send a priest to cults in one of the early rounds and get back workers. That makes it really good. But I wonder if chaos magicians will prioritize sending a priest to fire here. Now that chaos magicians ended up on temp shipping, they theoretically have, I think they'll have the ability to send a priest to fire, and then with their second action take either single spade or double spade, whatever's left. Probably single spade at that point. It's a little bit risky, but my guess is that like dwarves would take the double spade if it's, and I think it will be available to them. And then I don't think alchemists or halflings will want a single spade. And so that would leave single spade available to cast
one thing that's
second action, and they
interesting,
could build D1, C3.
one interesting thing is that Jekyll has passed on to the spade tile. Now the spade tile is generally like the best, opening bonus tile because of its, it's like very strong economically, right? You want spades, but because of how brown is situated on this map, not clear where that single spade is going, right? So this is very interesting. I wonder if it's more denial or if Jekyll actually has a specific hex in mind that she wants to spade here.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Jekyll also just does have enough workers that, I think Jekyll's dream round for next round would be send a priest to fire, get those 2 workers. Again, I don't think that's going to happen. I think Chaos Missions have the tempo on sending that first priest to fire. But then Jekyll could just, single spade plus hard dig on D4, right? Get in Dwarves' way a bit. I've said I think Dwarves are having a great game. Get in Dwarves' way a bit, get a neighbor for some trading posts over there, form your own town by getting over to C7. I think that could be really, really good. And so Jekyll's got enough workers to like use the single spade and a hard dig and get down 2 more dwellings. It's not amazing to do a hard dig that early, but Jekyll's got the workers to be able to like do something with that spade and still get dwellings out.
That makes a lot of sense. So she doesn't necessarily need a spade power action, you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, it could be totally fine. Like if you wanted to really screw Chaos Missions, be like, hey, you took that priest to fire that I wanted, I'll get you back by making sure you don't get spades. But yeah, I like it also. We've got the round 3. That could also happen on H3. Doing the double dig. We've got the round 3 towns coming up is why I say that. And so just, getting like 4 hexes in a line, right? In preparation for trying to form a town in round 3 is like a totally valid thing.
Totally makes sense. It could be more of a dig heavy plan than we were thinking. We were thinking that it was a ship heavy plan, but things could have changed already. We see that Deep Finesse has done a tunnel. I wonder if that involved, I'm just trying to count where all the workers went, but did that involve a worker's power action, or did it involve converting 3 power to a worker?
It involved at least, I saw him take a worker's power action. And that actually makes sense, yeah. So like dwarves have enough stuff with a single spade and a worker's power action to still get a temple 3 dwellings. So that's pretty nuts.
This is an important stylish concern here. Simon B has gone 2 temples, and also you will notice that Simon is down to 2 victory points and has 15 coins, meaning that we missed a massive, massive coin conversion. Bravo, Simon. We are all in awe. That looks like it was 20 victory points, I think, because Simon has used 20 coins so far and started with 15.
That's hilarious. I love
So
it.
20 at once. Yeah. It's the way to go.
I mean, when you don't build your stronghold early, you're going to have to be prepared for a lot of conversions. So maybe this is... So here's the theory, right? Simon and Jekyll play a ton together, right? They play a lot of async games. And Jekyll expressed before the game, like in our Premier League chat, just, not nervousness, but just like a, hey, heads up, like I'm probably going to be a little slow, right? Like I'm used to playing async games. And so maybe Simon's throwing the pressure a bit back on, saying like, hey, I know you only play async games with me. Like, watch this. Like, I'm going to get my conversions on the way now. Like, I'm playing Bullet. Like,
well, if that's the case, then Deep Finesse has been taking some long turns, has really given Jekyll the time to stew in her thoughts. So
yeah.
So it is 2 temples, 1 dwelling for alchemists in this game. And then Simon presumably will take one of the points tiles, but we'll see. Yep.
Yeah, shipping tiles.
So as we discussed, the shipping tile with 3 worker production. After this round, it should be up to, it looks like Simon's got enough to, do at least 1 worker conversion. Ooh. Well, we should probably discuss this. This was not the dig I was expecting. After Raphael took temp ship, I thought that perhaps C4 would be more targeted because it gives space to go to B5. as well. And also C4 is, highly desired by both alchemists and halflings to connect to the western half of the map. But instead, Raphael dug F5 to carve space for their town.
Yeah, I like this F5 dig because so what I think we're gonna see is Raphael's gonna then use his priest. So originally I was saying like, oh, that priest is going to fire, because he can just dig D1. But now that D1's been tunneled to, makes a lot of sense. Now that D1's been tunneled to, I think Raphael's plan is going to be advanced shipping and build H6 B5. Now suddenly either halflings or alchemists would be in danger of not connecting, right? If halflings get H6 taken, maybe they'll target G6 and cut off alchemy, right? Now G6 and H6 are very, very important hexes for everybody. But I think Chaos Magicians are going to be able to advance shipping here, take B5 H6, and it'll be interesting to see.
Very interesting.
Like,
especially because, yeah.
It is a Sanctuary Stronghold round, so obviously that would be nice to get out.
Yeah.
But I feel like claiming some of your hexes and maybe
Like Earth
getting it
1
everyone
and Air
else's way.
2.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
They're both super valid, but
Yeah,
while you're
it's
on
very
temp
interesting to
shipping,
see what
like
happens.
I feel like shipping is so important for Chaos Magicians on this map that I feel like I would take the economy of 2 dwellings over a Sanctuary right now. It feels weird, but those hexes are going to disappear if you don't get to them soon. Alchemists have reasons to want B5 eventually, for like a potential Sanctuary bridge town or something. Dwarves might want B5. They could form a town up there. It's also good for their connection. They could just throw a landscape there or something. So yeah, I think getting to those hexes while you're on temp shipping is the right call. And we do see him advance his shipping.
This is really cool. Meanwhile, Simon predictably takes workers. Simon's going to be able to advance shipping and hit all those black hexes this round. Jekyll has taken the coins. So this definitely implies a heavy shipping strategy from halflings later. Taking Fire 1 and taking all those coins, it has to imply some sort of shipping strategy to come.
I do wonder if they're even... So I was mentioning Chaos Magicians might want C4, but Alchemists could even want it at this point, right? C4 kind of lets Alchemists over to the western half of the map, right? Once they get C4, eventually they can get... I don't know, they could... E4 is probably better for them, actually. If they can just get onto E4, then they can get to G3, F2, eventually they get B3, A2, there's just this whole western half of the map that's available to them. But I wonder if Alchemists would, take C4 away from halflings if they get the chance, just because C4 is such an important hex for halflings' ability to, expand and compete for distance.
I will say that E4 might apply just the same way for halflings. Based on what Jekyll has done, it looks like she wants to get to 3 ship. So E4 is only going to be, it's 2 spades, but with halflings' eventual ability to just get cheap spades, I wonder if Jekyll is that concerned as long as she can still get E4.
Yeah, it's not that concerned. It is though. I think Jekyll wants to next round get to 2 shipping. I think that would be the plan. Maybe take a priest here or get onto temp shipping or something, or or pass on to priest, right? Jekyll wants 2 shipping ASAP. And so yeah, if for some reason Alchemists wanted to prioritize hurting halflings, I don't think there's any need to, but halflings just need to get on C4 so badly.
Yeah, that's fair. The western half of that map, and even there could even be aspirations of making a town in that upper left, right? That A2, B2, A3, A4 area. And then just talking about because we're talking about greatest distance this game, right? That's something that we don't often think about in our arena games, but A2 could be a very useful hex in terms of distance, especially given if you look at the bottom right at I8, I9, I10, those are all very brown-friendly hexes. So the ability to get to the northwest is, I agree, extremely important here.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Raphael did secure H6, as we were talking about. So this puts a lot of pressure immediately on connecting for both alchemists and for halflings. That G6 hex becomes so vital.
Yeah, and I think halflings are going to probably prioritize it more than alchemists, because realistically, with this color setup, I think alchemists can still just win everything if they strand G5. they can be totally happy just saying like, I just got like 14 leech or whatever off this, 14 early leech or however many it is off this temple, like, whatever, fine, like strand it
Well,
there.
they do have 0 victory points now, so they cannot. So they just lost out on a point of leech from halflings upgrading there, which by the way is not what I was expecting. I
This
was
is
not
weird.
expecting.
What is Simon doing? Like,
do
I hope
that.
Simon wins this game so we can get him on a call or something and just ask it. Like, I mean, there's just no reason for it, is there? Like,
The
what's
that massive victory point conversion.
yeah, what's the reason to like leave yourself at? Do you get a free leech or something if you're at 0 victory points? You do. So is that
You do.
is that
You
clever
do.
as hell?
Yes. If you're unable to pay the full leech, then you do get like compensation, the free leech.
So is that clever as hell? Like if you know you're going to do the conversions anyways, and you'd prefer free leech. I'm a big hole like
Yeah.
take free leech over 2-for-1s. When you can, especially like he's gotten all the power he needs. He's gotten all the 2-for-1s he needs. So like just accept free power from now on. That could be genius.
That's actually very interesting. Meanwhile, let's look at Deep Finesse's game. Dwarves have done a very predictable thing in sending, it's actually a pretty conservative type of game from Deep Finesse, right? He built a sanctuary in a sanctuary round, took Earth 1. And he took a single spade to secure H3, secure that sanctuary town spot. It's very, that Earth 1 also will win them 2 spades off the cult after round 3. And then he sent a priest to air, which got a 3 spot and secures a worker in round 4. It's actually like a pretty conservative type of game plan over there, which more so than you might sometimes expect.
I
from
love
Deep
this so
Finesse.
much. I think Deep Finesse wins this game by 10 plus. That's my bold prediction right now. Is I think Deep Finesse is absolutely destroying right now. So he got the 30
I mean,
faction.
he did pass onto the big building tile.
Yeah, he got the 30 faction. He's hitting the track really well. He started Temple 3 dwellings without getting the double spade, right? He was able to like get enough leech to get 2 workers in single spade, then single spade again to he's got this town spot locked up. I think he's going to get a coins action in round 3. So like over the first 3 rounds, he's going to have taken like a workers action, 2 spades, and a coins action, right? The 2 spades are slightly inefficient because they're both single spades, but whatever. Like, he's locked up Earth 1, Earth 2. His connection feels like reasonable. He's got so many different places he can connect. He can just plop a landscape down on D2 whenever he wants, and that's connected. He secured D1, which is really helpful. He's still got a bunch of grays that are unthreatened. He's about to build 2 trading posts to get a town in that round and secure the 2 key town, which is going to get him a whole bunch of power and workers down the line. He's like, no one's contesting him on the cults right now. Like, everything is beautiful. He's got the points lead. Like, yeah, I think Deep Finesse is just absolutely stomping this game.
That's an interesting take there. Love to hear it. Meanwhile, in the chat, we got Zitcob saying he just popped in and almost never played Fjords. Is Dwarves at 30 here standard?
No.
I'm not sure that Dwarves here at 30 is standard. I think that generally you'd expect Halflings to be the 30 faction. Just like on paper, right? Looking at these factions.
Yeah, halflings are generally kind of weak on this map, and then especially with landscapes on, halflings just become even weaker because that's one less structure for them to be able to get down compared to everyone else. Alchemists and dwarves get a little bit stronger because they both have pretty good landscapes. I think getting dwarves for 30 was a steal here. Dwarves have the greatest problem in the world on this map, which is like there's so many grays. Like, I have this problem I have in games where I'm like, which of the like 4 grays that I can jump to should I jump to? Right now Deep Finesse has like I4, E8, F6, A7, A5, right? It's just like nearly uncontested like grays he can jump to, and then hey, you get on E8, you jump to D6, that opens up C9 and F9. You jump to C3, that opens up E2, C1. Like, there's so many grays on this map if you can get your worker economy going, and Deep Finesse has been able to get his worker economy going.
Hold on. Raphael is about to take his turn here, and I'm just wondering, 2 of those grays could just disappear right now, right? Like, I don't know if that's Raphael's best move. Maybe Raphael's best move is to go for the town here with the sanctuary. But like 2 of the with this early shipping and being near so many of those grays, I wonder if some of those grays disappear here. Like A5 just went, right?
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, that's 2 grays.
Well,
So this early shipping strategy is very, very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, in my opinion, this is a great play, by Raphael to, you know, this is what a high level table is all about, right? Like recognizing that I think Deep Finesse is having a smashing game, and recognizing that like, double spade it's like rarely a bad action to take, right? To claim some hex to yourself, like you can potentially carve out some town spots there. Gets that A7 hex is going to get him over to A9, which will eventually get him over to D6. Like these are all good things to do, and if you can do things that are good for you to do, and at the same time, take down the leader a little bit, I think that's a great high level move there.
Yeah. We can also look at the pass tile that Raphael is on to get like some idea of their intent, right? Like Raphael passed on to the dwellings tile. And that tile, it's not the strongest economic tile. There's 4 coins sitting on it. That's it. But if you're going to score a whole bunch of points by having like all your dwellings out at the end of this round, then that makes it a lot tastier.
Yeah, Raphael missed out on the Earth 1. So we saw Jekyll built a temple, a second temple last round. We didn't talk much about that, but it makes a lot of sense to secure Earth 1 and to get the priest income for shipping. So if you're going to miss out on Earth 1, the best thing to do then, I think it was Andas who has tried to drill home this point in the past, is that when people miss out on Earth 1, they often say, well, like, it's not worth it for me to build dwellings, right? I think some people will fall into that trap of saying, like, I don't have Earth 1, so then why would I play a big network game? And like the reason you play a big network game is because that's one of the ways that you make up for the fact you don't have Earth 1, right? Is you like build lots of towns and win network, and in this case win expansion scoring, have lots of dwellings out so that you can build lots of trading posts later. And so the thing to do then, like your motivation actually becomes not, I'm not going to build lots of dwellings. It's, I need to build as many dwellings as I can, as quickly as I can, so that I can get on to doing other stuff that's worth points later in the game. With my better economy. And so I love that for Raphael here. Is like, I'm on the dwelling tile. Let's just get out all my dwellings this round. He can advance his shipping and get down A9 and A5. So he can be sitting on Temple 7 dwellings at the end of round 3, going into a Sanctuary Stronghold event, going into a Trading Post event. Like, that's a great position to be in, honestly. I don't particularly love where things are at. I don't want to say that Raphael's winning this game, but like, this is a totally fine position. Despite missing out on Earth 1, despite, not getting D1, despite some breaks going badly. But yeah, this is totally fine.
Meanwhile, we do see Simon send a priest to a cult. Gets the 3 spot on water. I think that makes a lot of sense to me. Now that alchemists have fully advanced their ships, they'll only need basically 1 more priest this game for tech advances, right? They only need 1 priest to fully advance their digging, given that they have the access to the stronghold and the landscape, which will help them advance their digs without a priest. So to take a 3 spot on water, which eventually turns into a spade, but honestly is just worth possibly 8 endgame points. I like that from Simon.
Something I just want to point out real quick.
Very, very quickly.
Something I just want to point out real quick. Jekyll has taken the line of advancing digging with these priests. I'm assuming she's going to be working on securing D4 and C7, but Jekyll left D4 black for a really long time, with Simon having enough power to take, Simon had power to take a single spade, had the spade bonus tile in hand. Like, if Simon would have dug C7, was Jekyll really going to 2-worker dig D4 to stop him? Like, that would have been a really interesting block that could have happened there.
The other thing that I'm seeing is that, so we were talking about halflings going for a very shipping-heavy strategy with the double temples and all the coins. Instead, Jekyll is going for early digs, which kind of does surprise me, given, early digs kind of means sometimes you want Earth 2 instead of Fire 1, so that you're able to dig more, have more workers, dig more. So I'm a little interested in to see what Jekyll does here.
Yeah, this is this C4 hex. I was really saying I thought Jekyll might prioritize shipping, right? So it looks like Jekyll's not getting a town this round, right? So that would be a reason to target D4, C7, to make sure you get those hexes. So I really thought Jekyll was going to prioritize, shipping, getting out those dwellings as opposed to the digging. But I guess, I mean, there's a lot of reasons to prioritize digging as well. Like, you left that D4 hex hanging, so might as well get it out of the way before alchemists get any funny ideas. You still do have connection on your mind, so getting G6 locked up ASAP is really nice before alchemists decide to. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons to go with digging here, but the longer C4 stays open, the longer Chaos Magicians could think about digging it. Chaos Magicians, they've dug A5 now, so they've got dreams of a town up there, and C4 could be part of that. Alchemists are just going to have this nuts worker economy going with Earth 2 and all their dwellings out, so who knows when if they'll think about blocking a competitor in their quest for longest distance. So I think halflings definitely, halflings have a totally fine game going, but they've got a lot of threat areas, right? And this is kind of what I was talking about a bit. Like, I can see a world where halflings just get very few endgame points. They have very little going on in the cults right now, right? They've got that step on fire, which is great, but I expect someone will catch them. Chaos Magicians might have nothing better to do than race up fire or something.
Meanwhile, halflings did take Act 3, the 2 workers. So that does give them a little more steam in terms of digging. And it helps to balance out their economy, right? It was very, very coin heavy for a while. And they are going to be able to do a little bit of digging. We also see Deep Finesse. Did Deep Finesse decline Leech? Deep Finesse is considering declining Leech here. This is a pretty interesting point, right? We're in round 3, and Deep Finesse has offered 6 Leech points for 5 victory points, and does wind up taking it. That's kind of interesting, right? You always love seeing huge leeches.
Yeah, I think it's good in a game with expansion scoring where Deep Finesse, now that A5 is, A5 and A7 were taken, Deep Finesse does have fewer connection options, right? Okay, yeah, and this is exactly it. This is Deep Finesse just getting his connection out of the way now. Use that leech. You're fine to take a 6 for 5 to make sure you connect and get those connection points, because I think dwarves are having a solid enough economy game that they're going to be in contention for, they're probably fighting for second, right, on the network stuff, because
alchemists
alchemists
are just
probably just going to win
absolutely
everything.
Insane. Yeah.
But yeah, so who haven't we talked about in a little bit? We've got, let's just recap. We've got Chaos Magicians doing their thing, spreading their dwellings. So I expect them to Sanctuary next round and, keep up that good stuff. Halflings are getting D4 and C7 right now. So that's good. I think they'll be able to lock up G6 and G7 next round. Alchemists have points now. That's good to see. No town spaces to dream of, but who needs towns?
I mean, round 5 trading posts and round 6 dwellings, alchemists can just dig everything for all the towns during those rounds. Right now, it is true that they've played as if it's clusters instead of distance so far, but that doesn't mean that they won't be able to form the towns when they need to.
Yeah, I mean, and their distance is going to be totally fine, right? They're going to get onto I1, and then they're already on A10, which is almost as max distance as you can get, right? I certainly don't see dwarves getting a bigger distance. I just don't see a spot where dwarves are going to get to a bigger distance. Chaos Magicians, I don't really see it happening. Chaos Magicians, maybe. There's some spots where they could get a big distance. Halflings could also, but alchemists are kind of dig their hexes away, maybe, right? Alchemists have more control over that, right? Alchemists can just get on B6 if they want. It feels like alchemists just, after this round, will have longest distance locked up. Network might still be an issue if G5 gets surrounded. It's a little bit more in question, but they have such a nuts economy. This is kind of one of the things about not building your stronghold early as alchemist, right? You can get an insane economy going, right? You can, he's going to have 2 temples, all his dwellings out, and a whole bunch of workers left over. But the downside is, he's had to spend a whole lot of points to get here. He's done, 20 plus coin conversions to get to this point, so that's not ideal.
Well, it's not ideal, but if we look at Simon's situation now, he's still got coins to spare. And he has 22 points. That's only 7 points behind Chaos Magicians already. It is 15 behind dwarves, but I guess dwarves, we are going to see the 2-key town get taken here, and dwarves are going to kind of explode in terms of points
Yeah, dwarves are about
due
to
to
get
that
7
and
points in a
passing.
town, passing on 4 points. Like that's why
Yeah.
got connection secured, and it should be a very valuable connection. I think just because I think halflings and chaos magicians don't have they just don't have nearly as many hexes left to them as dwarves do. Yeah, this seems like a very valuable connection, and yeah, I still love Deep Finesse's game, but I do think Simon's, I think Chaos Magicians and Alchemists are probably, around second place here, but I'd probably put Alchemist second. Like my ranking right now. But let's make these predictions so we can be made fools of later. But I think Dwarves are winning this
All
right
right,
now.
love the hot takes.
Alchemists second, Chaos Magicians third, Halflings fourth. That's my take.
Interesting. Let's see, how many tunnels have dwarves got left? I count, maybe they get C3. If they get C3, then they get 2 more tunnels there. And they have F6. I don't really see any reason for Chaos to block that one. So they've probably got like 20-ish points left in tunnels. They have Earth 1. They have probably at least, let's call it 18 points on the cults, almost assuredly, because they're going to win both Earth and Air, and they're definitely going to get like some points on Fire and Water. I'm not as convinced that they're going to beat Chaos in Network overall. I think that they might be looking at like 6 points and 6 points or something like that for the 2 endgame distance scoring, or the 2 network considerations. Because I do think that Halflings might have a stronger economy. And I think that you might be understating how many natural reds they have left between A9, D6, H7, C3. I mean, C3 is going to be pretty key for both Chaos and for Dwarves, right?
Well, so dwarves have 2 cult
like it
spades coming
unlocks-
in, and because they have their landscape down, they can turn C3 gray. So I think C3 is about to
that's a good
disappear
point,
like
yeah.
right here, which is big. It's
If
big.
that's the case, then yeah, I do. That is a blow to Chaos, like to get cut off from the West entirely like that.
See,
I think that securing D1 in round 1 was a really good move from Deep Finesse.
yeah, I think we're gonna see some so next round. Deep Finesse already has a sanctuary out. I don't think he needs to prioritize Water 1, seeing as he'll already have 2 trading posts out, and I don't think he needs a Stronghold, seeing as he's already got Earth 2, so like a decent worker economy there. So I think we're gonna I expect to see some aggression from Deep Finesse on like securing these grays. He could with his cult spades tunnel to turn C3 gray, and then also like take a single spade and dig D6 gray and build there, right? And just that helps him so much in his quest to beat Chaos Magicians on both network and distance that I could that's a huge swing both for yourself and then against one of your opponents, right? If you can say I'm getting 12 more points versus everyone, because I'm getting 6 more points on network and 6 more points on distance, and I'm getting 24 more points relative to Chaos Magician because they're losing those points.
Oh, interesting here. Deep Finesse did not take the 2-key town. Deep Finesse took a workers town.
I also think that's super valid because
It's valid, but it's very interesting. It definitely doesn't go with the narrative that we were thinking, but it does look like they might just win these 2 cults anyway.
Yeah.
But the 2-key town is now up for grabs, right? Like Jekyll could take it if Jekyll wants it, and I mean with all those priests, that might be a valid option for halflings.
Yeah. The problem is I still see Deep Finesse in such a great position to just send a priest to Earth and a priest to Air and then win them both. And
That's true.
And then Chaos Magicians are of course always going to be incentivized to race up one, so then you kind of Alchemists have kind of staked their claim to Water, and they've got lots of priests also. So then it's just this weird fight between Halflings and Chaos Magicians for first on Fire. I don't know. The Deep Finesse not taking the 2-key there is actually I think a brilliant play because I don't think anyone else is incentivized to take the 2-key town that much. It might end up being a totally fine option later in the game for someone, but I just think Deep Finesse is going to be totally fine without it. And those workers there, to me what that says is those workers there, that Deep Finesse is just going to be doing a ton of tunneling next round, right? Heading into a trading post round, the idea is just
agreed.
get as many dwellings on the board as you can. He's going to have 2 spades coming in, so that this is just I think we might see a build on C3 and, maybe one of the cult spades used on F8, and then you build F8, C3, F9, E2, like however many you can. Take a worker's action, like build more, right? Like just get all of your dwellings down. You've got Earth 1. And then that's a play to like, you're getting a ton of points from tunneling and from Earth 1. You just don't care about Water 1 here, right? You just don't care about Water 1 at all because you've already built 2 trading posts and you don't need to engage in that rush.
Yep, and there's another trading post round coming later anyway, right? So just build your other 2 TPs then.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think
we also have some chat in the game chat. People are Jekyll is wondering about Deep Finesse not taking the 2 key count as well. It's kind of interesting that the people in the game chat at least were also wondering the same thing that we were over here.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like a good move. The more I look at it, the more I like it. It looks like Deep Finesse could, with his first action, get that last priest to Earth, secure that, get 3 power. Like, Deep Finesse was also, with this able to pass on to the dwelling scoring tile. Like, I think he's gonna have 6 or 7 dwellings out. This is awesome. He's got reasonable worker economy because he took Earth 2 and got out a lot of dwellings to start. He's also got a reasonable coin economy because he was able to get out a couple trading posts this round and got a coins action, I think around 2 or 3. I think things are still cooking for Deep Finesse.
In a core play territory here, Simon has built a 3rd temple for Water 1. This is just cool, right? Like having 3 temples and the rest of everything else is dwellings. This is obviously something that you only ever see with alchemists, but it's just a very like aesthetically pleasing type of game plan. No directly adjacent structures, and just dwellings everywhere, and 3 priest production. But you've already advanced fully on shipping. I just love it.
Oh yes, I call Deep Finesse's cult spades, but anyways.
Yes.
No, I
that's true.
I think the 3rd
as a
temple
partner,
is
he could not have spaded. Yeah, he could not have spaded D6 because you can only tunnel once during your cult spades.
Yep.
Just like when you double spade, you can only tunnel once.
Yep.
But yes, F8 is definitely good.
The 3rd temple is interesting. I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about it. On the one hand, he might have been. Simon was passing last, so maybe he was worried that he missed out on a Water 1 rush or something. It also puts his temple in a spot that's a bit better for him. Like right now, his temple on G5 and his temple on C5 are not going to be part of towns. And so a temple on G3 is like where you'd want a sanctuary to be. So that makes it nice for this round,
That's
right?
true.
He can both stronghold and sanctuary and put them in places that are going to be part of towns. On the other hand, it's just a lot of, like, it's just still so many coins that he's invested into stuff, right? If he wants to build it, like he built that temple, which like took 8 coins. And now if he wants to build a stronghold and a sanctuary, right? Like the stronghold is 9 coins because he needs to build a trading post first. The sanctuary is another 6 coins. Like, so he's going to have to pay 13 points to build those, right? It's just like, it's so many points. And I just wonder, like, he's got Earth 1, Water 1, he's going to win Network, he's going to get a decent amount of cult points, but, like, does he have enough to keep up with the fact that Dwarves are also scoring well in cults, also going to do well in Network, and have a 30-point lead on him right now, 40-point lead?
Dwarves, we see, decided to prioritize C3 over locking up the Earth cult. Now, Simon has just millions and millions of priests, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Simon make a play for the Earth cult here. By sending the final priest there, is it possible that he could steal Earth with Earth 3 whenever he puts his sanctuary up? Air 1 might generally just be better, but it's kind of interesting that Deep Finesse left that open for this moment.
Yeah, Simon's got a million priests, maybe you don't even need Earth 3, maybe just a 2-key town and cult bumping, or,
Yeah.
Simon is maybe the next in line in terms of, like, the 2-key town being valuable, right? He's playing a bit of a cult game himself,
Yep.
and if he
Chaos Magicians look a little bit out of that.
Yeah, halflings I just think don't have the. I don't think halflings are gonna have the firepower to keep up on the cults. Too many of the spots are already taken, and they're too low right now. It seems like alchemists and dwarves are kind of kind of be the cult players here. Chaos Magicians are never out of it, of course.
Yep. So the water 1 rush is done. As you predicted, Deep Finesse was pretty like just whatever about it. Deep Finesse chose, to go for C3 and just get some tunnels in this round. Score off of that dwelling past tile as opposed to bothering about water 1.
And halflings, man, this is going to be a problem for halflings, I think, right? Halflings took water 1, but I just don't. Well, okay. So the big upside for halflings is that, as much of an upside as this can be, is that they don't have a great economy right now, so they're probably going to pass really early and get a coins action, which helps your economy back, right? There's the self-balancing of Terra going on, right? But the thing I was going to say is like I don't quite know how
I think that halflings would like like worker power is entirely fine for halflings here, right? To pass on to. They could also just like they could also build themselves a coin town or something right now, like take I3 or something. I don't think that that's particularly inspiring though. I think that it is just a little more interesting for them to pass right onto worker power here. And Simon would love that, right? Simon finally is going to get onto a pass tile this round. They were like getting locked out of pass tiles in consecutive rounds is actually pretty rough as alchemists here, because I think that round 3 they didn't have a pass tile. I think that they were on worker power or something, or the spade in round 3, and then round 4 everyone else jumped onto the pass tiles in such a way that Simon couldn't get onto them. So missing out on those passing points is actually kind of tough for Simon, in my opinion, because that's definitely part of your game plan as alchemists.
Yeah. When you're doing so many coin conversions, you need to be getting your points in other ways. And Simon doesn't look to be having, this certainly isn't a 4-town game, probably not a 3-town game, maybe not even a 2-town game, right? So he's not getting onto pass tiles. He's hitting the track really well and has done a good job with the favor tiles so far, but it's going to win distance. But this looks rough for Simon because of just not being able to get these breaks in the mid game on the bonus tiles.
I do think Simon will have, this will be a very good round for Simon, right? They almost certainly make their sanctuary this round. Alchemists will also get their stronghold out this round, so that's 10 track points. It is a lot of conversions, and
Simon's going to lose points this round. Simon's going to lose points
yeah.
this round, I think, right? With all of the conversions that Simon's doing, Simon will end this round, we'll get a lot of track points, but we'll do more conversions. So that's the problem.
That's fair. Well, let's count it, right? There's going to be 3 water 1, and then pay 6 for the stronghold, get 5 back. Pay 6 for the sanctuary, get 5 back. So, I mean, depending on how much power becomes coins here. Well, nope, that was all victory points to coins. So
yeah.
Simon does not care. Simon will not be stopped by you worrying about his victory point situation.
I'm about it. I mean, this is one of those games where you just say, I am winning.
Yeah.
I am winning both of these things.
Yeah.
You
just go all in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The big
workers action this round, which yeah.
And I think the biggest problem with that is just the towns, right? That's one of the ways, on base map, for example, right? You can do this game plan where you just convert a bunch of coins, but if it's round 6 towns and you can form 4 towns, okay, fine, do it. That's an amazing way to earn back points. But in this case, I really don't even see a second town for Simon right now. I'm sure he'll get one because I don't know, he's just got a million things, but I just don't.
I think I see a second town. I think that we could see a town from F2 to I1, or we could see a town from A10 to A12 or something. If Chaos gets onto A9, then that'll be a very nice. A10 will become very attractive for a stronghold location.
Yeah, that's fair.
Otherwise, F2 is just fine, right? Because then he just builds an all-dwelling / his landscape town in the southwest. It could be 3 towns, actually. It could still be 3 towns, I think.
I think you're overestimating how many structures. Right? I just don't know that you can do 3 towns and then have 8 structures not be part of towns.
I mean, alchemists can do crazy things on fjords. I am not going to doubt it. And Simon has converted. That might have been. I think that Simon converted 10 just now, maybe 20 just now. That might have been. That we might already be at 50 coin conversions. for alchemists. So I mean, and they open double temple. Like it is possible.
I guess so.
But yes, I think that we probably shouldn't count on 3 towns at this point. I'm wildly overstating like this in optimistic. It's very optimistic.
Yeah.
I will say that. Meanwhile, we see that Raphael with Water 1 and Air 1. This Sanctuary is up. We're going to see if he takes a town here. Because next round is the trading post round, but, I don't know if it's like a coin town, but he could get some sort of economic boost from taking like the right town here.
I think a ship town is what we're going to see coming. Like he's on the shipping tile. A9, he could build on A9 with a shipping town. Like I think that's really good. I think he also wants the tempo of, we see F9 get taken right now by dwarves. But I was going to say I think we want to see him get the tempo on like some of these hexes, right? Like A9 and D6 are still potentially under threat from dwarves. Potentially A7, right? Like Raphael wants to get to 3 shipping as fast as possible to lock up some of these hexes for network and distance purposes.
I agree, and being on that ship tile, of course, like adds even further incentive for that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this game plan is still fine. I'll say that I think Raphael is like making all of the right moves. I just think things were a bit unlucky in the opening with like not getting as much leech because like 4th seat and then having to dig with your first action and then.
Those placements were pretty rough for Raphael.
The placements were brutal. I think didn't get some great deal like dwarves did, but after from that point, I think Raphael's like played this really well.
Yeah, he hasn't made any mistakes. To be clear, it just might have been like not getting Earth 1 is actually pretty rough as Chaos Magicians in this setup. I think that it's like a game where Chaos Magicians definitely wanted Earth 1, maybe even more than like dwarves or halflings did, but. They're the ones who lost out on it because they chose to go for this shipping game plan over the stronghold or the sanctuary in round 2.
Yeah. And then meanwhile, let's talk about Jekyll, who is passing right now. So I'll admit, like I've had my doubts about this halflings game. Right? We see halflings ending round 4 with 0 shipping, and I said I thought shipping was like an important part of halflings game. But so like a few upside things here, right? Jekyll was able to like secure town spots and connection, and this is connection on potentially only 1 shipping, right? Which is great, and is able to pass onto worker power to get a coins action. So like Jekyll is going to be able to build 4 trading posts next round easily, and maybe even more. Like Jekyll could definitely
and 2 towns, yes.
Yeah, get 2 towns, take a coin town, take a worker town, build the temple, build air. Like this could be this is going to be a super nuts round for Jekyll coming up, right? We're going to see, like at least 24 points of trading posts plus 2 towns. That's a huge amount of points. This past round, Jekyll, this is another huge thing. Jekyll was able to send 2 priests to fire before passing. So Jekyll was able to get the tile she wanted, is able to get this coins action that, she desperately needs, and was still able to like make this play to lock up a cult. Which, like I said, I was worried about how few priests halflings had on cults, that they weren't gonna, be able to get many cult points. But this is great. Like in a game that's got this many priests being thrown around, to be able to get your like 8 to 10, cult points and get out of there is awesome. And then
and now like the Tukey town also and like the 8-pointer definitely have value for her as well if she chooses to go that route instead of taking like coin towns or worker towns.
Yeah. And so if Jekyll can do all this, right, like get a whole bunch of trading posts out, get this coins action, right, like I think this next round is like fairly, at least the first like 6 actions or whatever are going to be pretty obvious. Then that's going into a dwelling round. You freed up a bunch of dwellings. You have Earth 1. The trading post should give you enough coins to get to 2
dig.
shipping. Digs are already advanced. And there's still a whole bunch of brown hexes hanging out. B6, E9, G7, C4. I said earlier in the game I thought C4 was going to be this crazy point of contention. Untouched. Nobody cares about it. If you get C4, then A3.
How wrong we were about that one.
Yeah. And now, like with Jekyll, if Jekyll gets to B6, suddenly like that's a pretty decent distance. Maybe Jekyll's thinking about digging I3, I2, like just maybe trying to get down there, expand the distance. That maybe beats Chaos Magicians or Dwarves, and so maybe you can get 6 or 9 points on distance. Like So I think this is like a reasonable game plan. You know, my usual way of playing brown on this map is you get a bunch of shipping and you just try to dot these browns down early. But maybe this realization of saying like, all right, you know, deep finesse, you know, got a nuts start and connected. Deep finesse is having a nuts network game, and I'm playing against alchemists who are gonna win, you know, both final scoring anyways. So why compete there? Why not just advance my digging, lock up my town spots, get in others' way when possible, pass early and secure coins actions? Like, it's a very different play style than what I normally do, but this is working out way better than I would have expected for halflings.
I mean, the one thing that halflings have not struggled at all to do is score, right? Like, they've gotten 12 points off of advanced digs. They got Earth 1, so they're getting Earth 1 points. They built their sanctuary in the correct round to get 5 points off of that. As we said, like, they are incredibly well set up to take advantage of these trading posts coming up. And then, like, that leads, you know, it segues very naturally into the dwellings round and the final round. And with their advanced digs, they should have the ability, even if alchemists try to take browns, to like get dwellings out. And I think that it's also a pretty good break for them that dwarves decided not to take I2, right? Like, dwarves could have tried to make a 4-hex town instead of this sanctuary tall Earth 1-ish type of plan. But now, by leaving I2 open, that does let Jekyll out into the west if she does desire to do so in the final round.
Yeah, that's like that. I2 is going to be a weird point of contention. Like you said, dwarves could take it at any time if they just felt like being annoying. Halflings could race down there to just try to increase their distance. You know, in the 2-town game plan, you pointed out for alchemists that involves them getting I2 probably. So, yeah, like that's like weirdly that's going to be. I never think about I2 as like a hex of contention, but I think there's at least 2 people that want it.
And to be fair, alchemists, if they do want it, should get it. Raphael. So one thing that I was wondering last round was, what was Raphael going to do with his town? He wound up passing for the big building tile, which obviously makes a lot of sense for chaos magicians. Instead of forming that town that round, and now he has taken the 2-key town. And it looks like we'll be getting the air cult as well.
Yeah, that's so like the building the trading post this round, right? It's like 1 less air, 1 point. I don't know. I don't know exactly how the passing tiles would have played out last round, but it did seem like building that trading post last round, like getting your coin economy better. Because right now, like Raphael's economy is way skewed towards workers. So you want trading posts up. It gets you an air 1 point. It gets you the ship tile, which I don't know. Maybe he really does prefer the 2-key town, but I don't know. I feel like a ship tile would have been just as good as the 2-key town, given that he still needs to get to 3 shipping. But I don't know. I don't,
Yeah.
you know, I said early on I loved the line that Raphael was taking. This is where I feel like I start to differ a bit, you know, is I think getting the shipping out last round, getting the coins, like, would have been pretty nice.
Yep. Well, so one thing that Raphael could do here, right? Raphael could take the shortest round here. Could go trading post, then not build a. Maybe he goes trading post, temple, trading post, right? That could be good. But like right now, you're concerned about the balance of Raphael's economy. I think that going to next round, he's going to have a ton of trading posts, and he'll be actually pretty happy that he's saved up all those workers early on.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, if next round he just goes like digging or something, right? Maybe instead of doing the shipping thing, maybe he's going to go for a digging. Digging could be really valuable.
Be conceding, like the economic considerations.
And digging can be that thing, right? That you know, longest distance rewards you on getting to specific hexes, right? Like you're like, I don't just need to be on all of my natural reds. I need to be on that hex because it's 1 more distance away, and that's like worth 6 points to me. And so, yeah, like being able to have the workers to advance your digging could be super valuable there. And he still needs 2 more digs, you know, on A3 or B4 or C4 or something to get a town up there. Yeah, I could see that sticking on like maybe 2 shipping and just going for lots of digging instead. But yeah, if he's able to pass early and get a coins action, I do like that a lot. Pass early, get onto the dwelling tile. Yeah, that seems reasonable.
I wonder who is going to wind up passing first, because this is like trading post late. Like trading posts aren't that great economically, right? But they're one of the best ways to score if you have water one. So like generally people who have built strong economies want to have very long round fives if it's round five trading posts. That's almost like the best round possible for trading post scoring, right? For economic factions. So I wonder who will be the first one to bow out of this round and secure that dwelling pass tile.
We've got
It's
some
like, you know,
we've got some bridge
go
pressure
ahead.
between alchemists and dwarves as well. Dwarves probably want a bridge from F8 to G9, and alchemists want one from G3 to F2. So, and the fact that there's that dwelling tile sitting open, and the fact that it comes with a coins action, like I could see everyone wanting to pass early.
Yeah, that's true. But as soon as one person passes, right, like it actually becomes less attractive for the next person to pass. Unless that person who passed like is exposing a pass tile that everyone wants to rush for now.
Yeah, yeah. So like if it's alchemists that pass, then they've got a shipping tile that chaos magicians want, and then chaos magicians pass, and then the big buildings tile that both dwarves and half. So like it could be this weird rush though, but it is going to be interesting too though, right? Like this is a thing I love talking about and love harping on, and this is as complicated of a scenario as it gets, I think, but the idea that you know if you pass and you leave more points on the table if you would have just kept going, right? Say you pass to get a bridge action, right, which secures you a town. Maybe you could have just gotten more points by staying in the round, building more trading posts, you know, getting a better network because you have a better economy going. And this is like with expansion scoring on, with like all of the considerations of all the players, like having passing tiles and not knowing who needs to pass when, right? Like this is as complicated of a situation as it gets to know like what anyone's going to do and when is it right to pass. So I don't know, as a spectator, I'm just like sitting back and waiting for it to happen.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, like Jekyll does indeed go for an economic town instead of a scoring town. She takes the coin town. This definitely points toward Air One this turn. Ooh, look at that! Look at Raphael building the stronghold.
That's pretty sweet.
That is really cool, and I don't think that either of us expected that one for sure.
No, but I mean, he's sitting on the stronghold tile. The chaos portal secures a red hex, that dwarves could have dug. And,
One that's at a very important distance as well.
yeah, is an extra hex. And hey, now he can take a double turn and like to pass out of the round, like that's amazing.
Yeah, we could see like trading post here and then trading post pass, right, to get onto that dwellings tile. Because I think that everyone else will want at least two more turns here, right? There's no way that Raphael will not be able to pass first if he wants to at this point. Get that coins action. This does imply, I think that the stronghold does kind of say that he's kind of conceding that he's not going to get points for like the regular network that we're used to, like most connected structures. But this could be a decent play for distance, maybe.
Yeah, H7 to A3 is a reasonable distance. It's probably more than halflings are going to manage. I don't know. I'm really bad at judging distances on this map, but it looks like more than halflings are going to manage, and it looks like could be competitive with dwarves. So yeah, H7 is a really important hex, and yeah, like we've been saying, like I don't know. It seems like alchemists are going to win network, right? They've just done so many conversions, and even though they're stranding a structure, like they're probably going to end with one temple on the board or something. And then halflings don't seem to be playing like a crazy economy game, like with lots of structures. They're not going to build their stronghold, so their driller is going to be left on the board. So like, yeah, if you're chaos magicians, maybe you say like, I'm probably just taking third in network no matter what I do, right? I probably beat halflings, I probably lose to alchemists, and dwarves are having a good enough game that it's not worth fighting them on network. So yeah, you build that stronghold, you like secure that hex. Yeah, I like it. It opens up another trading post so that they can build two more trading posts this round. Yeah, I like it.
Jekyll is forming another town here. Let's see what she takes this time. The scoring again continues to be excellent for halflings. She's going to leap past Deep Finesse in terms of raw points right now. Obviously, we know that there's tons and tons of endgame scoring here, so this isn't everything. But okay, so this time it's a scoring town. It's the Priest town.
Yeah, it makes enough sense. I think I might have even just gone for an 11 pointer there or something, just because I don't know that Jekyll needs more priests, right? You'd love taking a priest town when that
I think
priest,
that priest might be a fancy worker.
yeah, it might be. But Jekyll,
Or it
so
might be ship advances.
yeah, Jekyll should have enough to like build G7 and B6 this round and like leave a worker economy in a good place. Yeah, I think 11 pointer would have been fine. Priest can never be bad, right? A priest is a 10-point town at worst. We've got Chad asking us what our predictions are at this point. So
my
so
God.
let's make fools of ourselves again. I'm predicting. Oh, Raphael's first. This is actually big for the prediction because Raphael passes first, which means the dwarves aren't getting on that dwelling tile.
Yeah.
Like I think if
Or the big
dwarves,
building.
I think if
Oh,
dwarves are able
Finesse
to,
has to decide.
if dwarves are able to pass first onto the dwelling tile and a bridge action, I'd be putting deep finesse all day. I still think I'm predicting deep finesse, but I think it's a lot closer with halflings now. I do just like where halflings are at a lot more than I
think
thought.
I have Deep Finesse and then Jekyll. And then at this point, I think like there's a huge points gap, but I think I like Alchemists just because they have so much endgame scoring. I think I like Alchemists over Chaos Magicians. So I think I have Dwarves, then Halflings, then Alchemists, then Chaos Magicians. But it's very, very tenuous to try to make that type of claim with so many points still to come.
I think I'm with you there, except I think I'd flip Alchemists and Chaos Magicians. I think like Chaos Magicians getting onto this passing tile, opening with a coins action. I think Chaos Magicians can still like double advance their digging, like take a priest town, advance their shipping. Like I still think they've got a whole bunch of stuff coming, and I think their advanced digging and even just where their hexes are right now could make them competitive on some of the end game scoring, like stealing some points from halflings. So yeah, I think it's dwarves in the lead.
So Deep Finesse
Halflings and
in
Chaos
direct
Magicians.
competition with sorry, just like the actions going on here, right? Deep Finesse in direct competition with Alchemist for both that tile and the bridge. Just decided to make a temple for Air 1. So Deep Finesse is playing very greedy here.
It's
and
I think it's going to get rewarded though, because Simon still has 3 trading posts left to build, right? He has 3 trading posts on his board. Like you can't play this, economic of a game and then not go all out on the trading post round, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know where Simon puts his trading posts. Like this is also kind of awkward too, because where do you put your trading posts if you're Simon? Like you're not putting them in places where you don't have neighbors where you want to make this town. I really don't know. This is what worries me about Simon's game.
Simon's fine. Simon's going to build. Simon's going to build on H2 and then make a trading post there. Then I2 make a trading post there. I think that there's enough workers in Simon's bag that he can do that. I think. Okay. I haven't counted out exactly, but I suspect that the town gets formed this round possibly.
But that means he's not getting onto a points pass tile.
That's true. But as we determined, he has to take a lot of turns this round, right? Like, just like not paying off this trading post round is possibly even worse than like missing out on those 8 points.
Yeah.
And we're gonna see.
Simon's gonna have a lot of points after this.
Well, I don't have to make that call.
He's still got another town coming, and this could be 3 towns. You could be right about this. Like if he makes that H2I2 town right now, he might have enough in the bag to make one more town. I don't know. That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. He needs 2 hexes, so 2 structures to make H2I2, and then technically 2 more structures to make that G2H1 connection and just ignore F1. I mean, it's technically possible.
I think you need a fire 2 in there, and I don't know if that's happening.
You do need a fire 2, yeah. You do need fire 2. Fire 2 is not very fun to take after like building out all this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Simon's about to earn a good chunk of points, but I think it might be too late, and just might not have enough points coming in other areas. Because I mean, everyone else is also going to have a good last round. Look, Deep Finesse still has like 3 gray hexes open to build on, plus 2 more with 1 spade, right? So Deep Finesse is about to have a nuts round. Deep Finesse still has a town coming if he gets this bridge, which seems like he should. Raphael, like I said, dig advances, ship advances, something like that is sitting on a pass tile. Jekyll still has a million brown hexes available. There's some problems where I think everyone else is just finding efficient ways to make points.
Yeah, it does look like alchemists are going to be at a bit of a standstill here. They're still possibly doing points to gold at this point. So there's I2. So the game of chicken and passing continued, right? Like we saw that Jekyll decided to make a trading post instead of passing. And again, the decision is going to come back to her if, basically everyone now, right, is being offered, hey, look, that's 4 to 8 points, right? Like, are you going to take it now, or are you going to greed out your extra 3 points here? We know that Deep Finesse is passing now, right? Like, Deep Finesse really has nothing left to do in this round.
Yep.
So Jekyll has to make the call of how important is it to get that tile away from Deep Finesse? And I don't know how she's going to answer that question.
Yeah, I really don't know. Jekyll's also, like, it's not that bad for Jekyll to stay in the round. Like, you can just build a couple dwellings, right? I don't think Jekyll necessarily has enough workers to, like, not build any dwellings now and then just, like, max everything out next round. So, like, Jekyll could benefit a lot from building a couple dwellings right now.
Well, Jekyll could also benefit a lot from the 2 workers printed on that tile, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, if worker econ is your issue, then passing onto that tile actually takes care of a lot of those issues. And right now, if you have your income displays on, just 3 worker income and 11 coin income in the coming round, I think that we're going to see a lot of ship advances to score. Not really sure about... Well, I mean, Simon has shown no interest in hitting browns, right? Simon's dug, like... Is that 0 key browns this game? So... we're going to see if Simon plays Disruptive. If Simon doesn't play Disruptive, then I really, really like Jekyll's game here.
Yeah, so like Jekyll can now do like some conversions and get 1 more dwelling out now, and then should have enough coins like and priests and stuff to get to next round. I think it's going to be like get to 3 shipping, a couple priests or fancy workers, and just hit. Jekyll has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 natural brown hexes available on 3 shipping, and what do you know, has 3...
That equals the number of dwellings on her board.
Yeah. So with a little bit of leech, maybe a worker's action, whatever, like I don't know exactly how it's going to work out, but if Jekyll doesn't get these browns disrupted, I think that's... she's got 4 workers now, plus 2 spare priests, so that's 6 workers. Coins is actually the thing Jekyll needs right now, so power becomes coins. This is a brilliant, like... hoarding points game from Jekyll, I think, right? Of just like make sure you get water 1, like hit the track, and the favor tile is really hard, like accept, underappreciated thing to do, but like I love the game plan of like accept when you're not going to be good at something and then just go all out in not being good at it, right? If you say like I'm going to lose network and distance to alchemists anyways, like then why would I bother shipping so early in the game to push to try to like just to lose that more narrowly to them, right? And so that's great. I think.
It's kind of like the Swarmling's philosophy, right? Like you just do what you're good at, and then you do that better than everyone else, and hopefully that game plan is just stronger than other people's. And in this case, it's extremely strong. Like she has a huge, like a pretty strong points lead right now. I mean, again, like there's a lot of endgame scoring to consider, right? Like Simon has 43 points. We know that he's got 36 coming in from the network considerations. We know that right now it's looking like maybe 16 cult points. He's got a fair amount coming into the end game, like a lot more than anyone else does. And then 9 points on this pass here. Another town.
Yeah, but he's 50 points behind.
It probably still isn't enough. Yeah, and Jekyll has a big round coming, right? Jekyll has 2 ship advances, which is 7 points alone. And then probably like at least like 4 of those dwellings get built at 4 points a pop. Yeah, I don't think that. Though I mean, Jekyll is very, very much over the time limit right here.
Yeah, Jekyll put
Raphael
it in chat
is joking about kicking
up.
Okay.
So everyone else, all the players say they're waiting, which is nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this
Yeah.
is. Oh wait, Jekyll's saying it still says it's her turn, but she went already.
Oh, okay. So she has some sort of issue going on. Okay.
Let's refresh and see what happens. Did BGA go down or something? Let's see.
I'm
Anyways, yeah.
refreshing my
we'll wait for
browser.
this. So yeah, so we were predicting a bunch of points from Jekyll in this round, like you said. Maybe 20 points of dwelling, 7 points of ship advances. Seems awesome. So that's pretty good. That definitely feels enough to keep her ahead of Simon, I would say. So that's why I still have Simon last right now. Though it's always hard to count out alchemists. Deep Finesse also seems to have a bunch of points coming in, right? Deep Finesse has a town and then 8-point dwellings, 4 8-point dwellings could be coming in. That feels like it's going to be too much to overcome. And if Deep Finesse gets out all 4 of these dwellings, that probably puts him at 2nd place on network. Right? I don't see Chaos Magicians or... Chaos Magicians maybe, but probably not. Yeah, Halflings aren't getting down to 3 structures on their board. Chaos Magicians might not be. Probably not. So... Yeah, I would guess Dwarves are taking 2nd in network.
I would not feel great betting on Deep Finesse getting out all of those dwellings. They're just I guess Jekyll doesn't really have worker economy to spare, right? But if Jekyll thinks that Deep Finesse is the biggest competitor, then she could say oh, my 4-point dwelling versus your 8-point dwelling. I would rather, take 1 point out of my 3. I don't get the dwelling or earth 1 point, but I take away F6 from you with a single dig, right?
But Deep Finesse can also then just take a single spade, can take a worker town or whatever. Or the worker towns are gone, I guess, right? But
that's true.
Deep Finesse, I
true.
feel has a lot of outs. Even if he doesn't get all of these natural hexes, he'll still have some outs to get out all of his dwellings.
That's true. And I guess I'm also looking at Simon, but Simon might just say, "Oh, I'm so far out of the main scoring. I'm just going to maximize my own points and not worry about disrupting." Right? That's one of the things about having a score that's so far out of it. You might not be as incentivized to be as blocky as you normally are in this situation.
Yeah.
Because I feel if alchemists are competitive here, right, then they're definitely going to hit those dwarves hexes in the west. But because Simon is so far out of it, or seemingly so far out of it, right, he might not feel the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if anyone chooses to participate. So Deep Finesse's first action is going to be bridge, and then after that it's just, lock up your gray hexes, just 4 straight actions, right? And he has 4 gray hexes, right? We've got C1, E2, I4, F6, right? So it's just going to be a case of you just, you priority. I4 is last priority because only one person can touch that. E2 is probably second to last priority because only one person can touch that. So you just you just go in priority order, and you just plop them down. And Deep Finesse has, that many actions or whatever. But so yeah, I see even with a little disruption, I see Deep Finesse getting all those dwellings down. Maybe some of them don't end up being tunnels, but yeah. So Deep Finesse is at 87 points with a town coming. He probably has the leeway to take an 11-point town. He's got maybe 16 cult points coming in, right, which might be the most of anyone. A 4-point passing tile. Yeah, 40 points of tunnels or whatever. Or 32 points or something, right? Of dwellings. This seems like Deep Finesse's game to me still. That's just a lot of points coming.
Yeah. You could definitely be right. He hasn't done a ton of I mean, Deep Finesse has tunneled a good amount, but he hasn't scored a ton from that tunneling, right? A lot of it has just been hitting the rounds well so far.
Yeah.
But we should it is easy to forget just how explosive dwarves scoring can be if they actually do get all those tunnels.
Yeah, and he's already sitting at a great score. That's the scary thing, right? 87 points at the end of round 5 with the town still coming. That's yeah. This is a great game from Deep Finesse. Raphael has just been sitting here past for the last 15 minutes, just waiting for everyone to catch up. But I mean, Raphael's going to end up with a pretty good score too, right? Also 1 or 2 ship advances, that could be 7 points. Maybe a dig advance, that's 6 points. Can also, his dwellings are going to be a lot less valuable, but still has, an air 1 that's going to pass him for some points. Still a town coming. Still a reasonable shot at I still have no idea who's going to get second on distance, but it looks, I mean, it looks like Chaos Magicians and Dwarves are going to be very close to each other. Let me count this out. So if
I think dwarves have it with C1.
Dwarves build on C1,
Um,
it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 distance. They could maybe get to 14
Yeah.
distance if they just like single dig G10 or something. So dwarves could,
Right.
let's say dwarves end with
And
14
then-
distance, and then H7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, Chaos Magicians probably can't get enough. Okay, so dwarves look to get second on network and distance. So Chaos Magicians are...
That's pretty huge.
Yeah, Chaos Magicians are probably getting third on distance and tied for third on network, maybe. That's rough. So yeah, Chaos Magicians might be last here, actually. I liked a lot of parts about their game, but, they don't have a massive amount of cult points. Chaos Magicians are looking at, 14 cult points or something right now. Yeah. Alchemist endgame scoring might be enough to overcome.
Yeah, once they pass this round, alchemists will have more points than chaos magicians, right?
Yeah.
Or I guess technically not now that they made this temple. So Simon said, "I don't care about Fire 2. I'm going to go for 3 towns without Fire 2."
The full board clear.
I respect that.
I love it.
Yeah, the full board clear. Simon also says that he's lagging.
Yeah, you know what? My friend says that in Fortnite when he gets killed too. Never thought that'd be a problem in Terra Mystica.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this my new call, is Deep Finesse is first. I think Jekyll can still get second. Simon third, Raphael fourth. But honestly, it's Premier League. These games are never that, that stretch top to bottom. Even no matter what it looks like in the mid game, these players all have great game plans and they find a way to make it close at the end.
I will say that last game, I think that we, the casters at least, correctly predicted the top 2 players, and they kind of got the most discussion. However, I think Simon came in 4th in that game and was behind by 3 points from 3rd and maybe 10 points from 1st. It's easy to write someone off, a little too soon.
Oh yeah, I was scared of Simon in the mid, until Deep Finesse hard dug my hex and forced me to block Simon's town. I thought Simon was
exactly. So there goes the coins action. We probably just expect tunnels to start happening at this point, I would think.
Probably the bridge, yeah.
Or the bridge, yeah.
The bridge is
yeah,
a lot
bridge.
of points, and someone could definitely block that with spare power. Alchemist might just be willing to throw away a few points to block 11 points of town on the leader.
Yeah. Speaking of which, yep, it is the 11-pointer.
Yep.
Deep Finesse now has basically exactly the workers to do all these tunnels.
Yep. Yeah. This feels pretty clean. You just, Deep Finesse has 4 or 5 actions left, and you just hope that these hexes remain open. Worst case, if they don't, you hope to take a 2-for-1 so that you can get a single spade. But yeah, things feel fairly clean for Deep Finesse from here, assuming no one interferes. But yeah, same with Jekyll, right? Jekyll's just got almost exactly enough stuff. You just advance your shipping and put down your dwellings.
Just hope that your hexes stay your hexes.
Yeah. Simon might have a relatively clean round just because he has so few things left. It's just build a trading post and 3 dwellings, and then what else are you can do? I don't know, send your priests and lock up some cults, I guess. But Simon's pretty much out of stuff to do.
Simon's gonna build all his structures and have 6 workers left just to hate dig with.
Yep.
So that'll be interesting, I guess.
And then Raphael is the one with the interesting round, I think, just because he's got...
Raphael has lots of options remaining, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not clear what his absolute best stuff is right now because he has so much that he still wants to do, whereas these other players have kind of their game is kind of collapsed, right? Their decision space is now fairly narrow. But Raphael, is he advancing digs? Is he advancing ship? Is this going to be a play at the air cults?
Play at the air cult.
It is a play at 2 cults. Okay.
Well, that's a bummer for Deep Finesse. And Deep Finesse just got F6
Or for Jekyll,
dug
too.
So...
Oh, yep. There it is. Yep.
I still think Deep Finesse should be fine, right? So he's still got. So C1 is now safe. Right, like no one can touch C1.
Yeah. Yeah. C1 is untouchable for the moment.
Jekyll hasn't shown any interest in digging I4.
Well, Jekyll wasn't Jekyll the one who just dug F6 there? Oh, Jekyll.
No, that was Alchemist. That was Simon doing that.
Oh, okay. Okay, interesting.
So
But yeah,
I4 is now safe.
Yeah.
And so DFNS is still going to be able to get his dwellings out.
Yep.
Right, 3 to 10 on
I think
I4,
worst
3
case
to 10 on
scenario.
the C1, and then.
Yeah. I think at the worst case scenario here, he can convert 3 power to 1 worker and convert 2 priests to 1 worker.
Yep, yeah, and then do a dig and tunnel.
To make a hard dig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's actually pretty good. He can tunnel to A1 now, right? And that just increases distance a little more.
Yep,
Feel a
or
little
like
more secure.
D6 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he actually?
Yep.
He's actually tied with. Yeah, wait. If he tunnels to A1, is he tied with alchemists for distance? Then I think. Right, because they both would have a hex in the corner, right? Alchemists have I1.
Oh, Alchemist never got to A11 or A12 or even B6. That's that feels not great for.
Yeah, I think
Alchemists
Alchemists
in
just
terms of
been
their
assuming this
distance
whole game
scoring.
that they're winning distance, but going for this town might actually be worse, than. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
not worse, but right, but like.
Yeah.
It has a downside of like if you can't put a dwelling on A11, then dwarves beat you on network or tie you on distance. So that's a bummer. Yeah. So this still feels like Deep Finesse winning. What we've been saying all game. I think that he just had a booming
I
start.
think I might be coming around on that now.
I guess
Should
what I've
never
been saying.
doubt yeah. Don't doubt Deep Finesse here.
Yeah. How does he get away with what he gets away with?
Yeah. I used to say that about someone else here, like
Oh yeah.
does he keep getting away with it? But yeah.
Yeah. I get away with my fair share of stuff too, but that's why I got to
Cornwall
table talk
was
my way
actually-
into
yeah.
I got to table talk my way into everyone targeting Deep Finesse again.
Yeah. Cornwall was actually saying the same thing, that tunneling to A1 might be good for Deep Finesse. So good catch there. He also thinks that we should just generally assume that Deep Finesse is winning. Okay, guys, come on. Deep Finesse is not unbeatable.
As soon as he put in
He's
halflings,
not.
as soon as he
mean-
put in halflings, it was like 400 IQ.
Yeah. Deep Finesse putting in halflings is the new Deep Finesse putting in Orin.
Yeah.
He used to love putting in Orin because he's like, other people are just going to overvalue them, and then I'm going to profit off of their mistakes. And then he would get them for like 30 when everyone else was at like 15. This time, perhaps he Jedi mind tricked people into picking. Well, I mean, again, Jekyll is scoring quite well. I think that Jekyll. Well, it's probably close between Jekyll and Simon here, right? For second. Or I mean,
Yeah.
actually, sorry, strike that from the record. Have no idea who's winning here. Like Raphael, we still don't know like what exactly he's going to do. Though he's out of priests. Priests were kind of like the way that he was going to make a lot of points with his dig advances. So now that those dig advances are in, and he still has fewer points than Alchemist, it doesn't look as good for Raphael anymore.
Yeah, I'm also a little confused. So there's like. He still needs to get to 3 shipping maybe to connect H7, or maybe he can just dig his way. I don't know. He only has 1 shipping right now, and no more priests, and there's no priest towns. So I don't know. I guess he's.
Yeah, like a 5-power priest sounds very unattractive.
Yeah.
There's a ship town, I guess.
There are ship towns. Okay.
So I assume that it's going to be like a dig on A3 for the ship town, then a dig on I6 to connect. There's the dig on I6 first, I guess.
Okay. Yep. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
I mean, Simon's going to end up with a lot of network points, am I right? Like,
Yeah.
or resource points.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Like, so once Simon digs out this H1 and then takes the 8-pointer, like, I guess all the priests just get sent to cults, and then he passes with like 10 resource points. That's better than a pass tile.
It's very like it's also for some reason expansion scoring in my brain just like breaks everything, right? Like I have these reasonable intuitions in a lot of games when I'm playing about just like like I'm doing no math but I can just kind of be like, oh yeah, like they're winning the cults, and like I can just kind of like in my head guess like, who's winning based on like, oh, and they've got a pass tile in the cults, and like those just, like I said, I'm not actually coming to a number. I'm just coming to like some sort of like approximation of how well they're doing. But then I know it's only one more thing, but as soon as you throw an expansion scoring, I just have no clue. Like I have no intuition about how that affects things in my brain. Like all of my instincts are gone. And so, yeah, I think, like I said, I think Deep Finesse is winning, but I have no idea who's getting second through fourth.
Yeah. Speaking of Deep Finesse getting that spade, he decided to greed out the single spade action from some free leech onto A1. And now he's going to tunnel again to get even more points from it. Just really, really nice. Like a really nice play there.
Yeah, that's totally valid too. So like he could have sent those 2 priests to air and probably gotten 4 points that way, right? Like it doesn't seem like Raphael has the firepower to like fight it back.
Yeah, Raphael's not going to fight that.
But also like if you can get your 4 points and have a guaranteed way, like that's also nice, right? Like no one's touching A1. You can definitely turn those 2 priests into 4 points via A1. And
yeah, it also just seems like Raphael is not really in contention here. So there's no particular reason to target Raphael and try to like fight for points when you can just get your points like safely in for free.
Yep. So Simon completing this town, all structures 3 times. You called the 3-town game. I got to give that to you. I was saying maybe one, and you were the one, hammering the drum on a 3-town game, and it happened. So
this 2-temple beginning is just insane. Also, I think I underestimated when I said 10 resource points. Oh no, it looks like right around 10 right now. If it's the 8-pointer, then yeah. Yeah, and this priest to close out water will make it exactly 10 resource points. The other priests will all trade off the same. So, yeah, very nice. Very nicely done by Simon here.
Yeah. Yeah, he's going to absolutely dominate the endgame scoring here. So that's good. But everyone else has, passing tiles or a whole bunch of stuff left to come. So, yeah, I think Simon could be taking second here too. Or not second, third. I still feel like Jekyll's in second. I don't know. I should stop trying to predict. Deep Finesse seems like he's winning.
I'm not sure about Jekyll's endgame scoring. Like, it looks like Jekyll is getting third on overall network or tying for third on overall network, right? Like regular network. But do we know, like, between Jekyll and Raphael, who's got the distance? It looks like Jekyll does have the distance, actually, with that B2 grab. But it's very hard to say, like in terms of distance scoring. Like EGA now has that helpful thing that shows you like what your overall network is, but unfortunately it doesn't have like a ticker that says, hey, here's your connected distance, right? Here's your number for Fire and Ice endgame scoring yet.
Yeah. Let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 for Raphael. He could actually, can he improve that at all? I don't know. And for Jekyll, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Could be a tie there. I don't know. We'll let the numbers tick in. But yeah, I think Simon did end up bringing this back well, but Deep Finesse just has too much of a points lead and is also doing really well in endgame scoring and has a pass tile.
I think we might see Simon just straight up pass here.
He's got a cult. He's got a cult bump, but yeah.
Oh, he's got water too. Okay.
Yeah, let's take a moment to appreciate this beautiful empty alchemist board. Love to see it.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Oh, Simon's just digging hexes. That's a fair way to just stall, like workers can turn into 2 power, which is a coin, which is the same anyways. So just, I don't know, that's fair, just stall. Yeah, Chaos Magicians having 6 structures left on their board is pretty rough. That take on of C3 was pretty brutal, right? Like, Deep Finesse getting to D1 was massive this game because then it also meant he beat to C3, which means Chaos Magicians never get to E1. Like, it's such a huge swing in the game that Deep Finesse was able to do that. Like, great for dwarves, helps him connect, right? Deep Finesse doesn't get D1. Like, connection is so much more difficult. Things are so much better for Raphael.
Sorry.
Like it's a network swing.
When you say D1, like in terms of like connection, like Deep Finesse was connected, right? But you're saying like in terms of like expansion, so that he could get like more grays and more like
Even connection. Deep Finesse connected
like
through
that.
D1. Like the landscape.
a D2.
Like
Oh,
the
I see what
landscape
you're
on
saying.
D2
Yes,
connects
yes.
to D1, right?
Yeah.
So landscape does help things a
Yeah.
lot, but there's still
That's
some
a great
hexes that you
amount
need
of
to get.
foresight.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a Jedi mind trick there to like, he just knew, like, because with like the temp ship pass, right? I think that Deep Finesse, like, it was kind of easy to see that some of those grays were going to go away, right? Like we were both talking about like how Deep Finesse had so many grays, but then Chaos Magician was on temp ship very early. But because of D1, like D2 left that out for the landscape. Just a really, really fine sort of connection there. It looks like Raphael might be lagging. I see like a bit of lag on his screen right now. I'm trying to figure out the last move to make, I'm sure. Don't know if there's any move that increases Raphael's final distance. So he might just dig down A8 or something. It's the cheapest hex.
Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, he actually had the ability to do a double dig, right? He could have converted 3 power to a worker, but there was nowhere that he could double dig to improve his distance, weirdly.
Right, like there was like E9, but like what does that hex get you?
Yeah.
Nothing really, so.
Yeah, just everyone wrapping up here. Yeah, Simon going to pass with just a monster load of resources. Can Simon shoot up air here? Right, like Simon's got a water 2 bump, 3 priests, and then he could 5 power priest. That's 5 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
This is the type of thing that can happen. Yeah, when there's absolutely nothing left to do for alchemists, you can do a lot, anything that you set your mind to.
Yeah, I don't know if that's point efficient, considering, right? Like who knows? I mean, 5 power, yeah, but it seems like it's probably pretty okay.
Yeah, he's at 2. That would bring him up to 6, maybe 8 on that cult. That has to be point efficient.
Yeah, and he's going to get some power back along the way anyways. So that feels pretty good. Yeah, swing some against Chaos Magicians. Yeah, like with that might be putting Simon able to hit second here. I don't know. I'm just going to wait for these scores to come.
So alchemists have air 1. Alchemists have air 1. Halflings don't. I mean, alchemists are absolutely going to smash halflings in the endgame scoring, and they have that air 1 point, and they have like right now they have 10-ish resource points, right? I think second place is pretty close.
Yeah, that's fair. We see halflings weren't able to get down that last dwelling, by the way. I don't know where that, maybe there weren't enough coins or something, right? Like, but that's actually a pretty significant dwelling, right? That would have been a 4-point dwelling and a swing against Chaos Magicians. And they had the hex for it, right?
It's like a 7-point dwelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is a bit of a bummer. But yeah. So let's go back a bit. Now that while everyone's just wrapping up their stuff and the scores are going to be tallying, like, where do you think this went right for Deep Finesse or wrong for other players, right? Like, what was the turning point of this game?
I think that dwelling placements are actually pretty huge this game. Like Chaos Magicians being left out of, like, not only were dwarves in like the best leech position, right? They upgraded. Were they the first to upgrade? Well, they were like one of the first 2 to upgrade, right?
Yeah, they were second.
And then there's the fact that Chaos they got extra leech from the fact that Chaos dug into them. Like that extra dig, that not only was Chaos on the outside, they also missed out on the first bout of upgrades. And then on the second bout of upgrades, they only had a dwelling where everyone else had a trading post. So like the initial round leech, like it can't be understated how good it is to get Temple 3 dwellings with only a single spade. And then they got a single spade the second round. Like 2 single spades isn't great, but we all say the double spade is great, right? All that Deep Finesse had to do is spend 2 extra power to take 2 single spades instead of the double spade. So like he essentially got double spade and a tunnel over the course of the first 2 rounds. So I mean, that I think is one of like the keys to how this game was won for Dwarves.
And then the coins action in round 3, which is what you need after doing all of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I think, people are joking in chat that this game was over when Deep Finesse got Dwarves for 30, and I think that's a bit true. But I also think that there was things that especially broke well, right? If dwelling placements go differently, if, say Chaos Magicians are, able to get the priest or like get, say Chaos Magicians start on D3, Halflings don't start on E6, then Chaos Magicians take the single spade, take E7 and F6, right? Like there was a lot of ways this could have started a lot better for Chaos Magicians, and if Chaos Magicians get a better start, then Dwarves get have a worse game in the long run because they have more grays and reds taken. Yeah, there were definitely ways.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I think there was definitely ways this could have broken differently. Like if Dwarves weren't at the center of that insane leech party, right? Like say they decided to have it somewhere else, right? Like say Alchemist hadn't gone double temple and they just upgraded C5, right? And Dwarves don't have the lead. Like Dwarves needed specifically, like for this game, like the breaking point was D1, and they needed exactly the single spade and the workers to make that happen, which required both a lot of leech and no one else taking those actions.
Like one interesting thing is that when you consider like normal dwelling placements, I think that C5 is actually a pretty unusual dwelling placement for alchemists. If like G5 C5 is not like a particularly common pair, I think as you pointed out, I think that G5 G8 is more common, and even C5 C G8 is not that uncommon if like you're just going to ship early and you want all your structures to be connected or something, so you don't want to strand G5. But this G5 C5 placement invited Dwarves to place on C6. That is not a typical Dwarves placement at all. I think that Dwarves on this map are almost as predictable as like Engineers on base or Dwarves on base, where like I think that E8 is so much more common. But here, C6 was obviously the correct call. Deep Finesse never had to upgrade there, but just got so much benefit from it. And wow, looks like we might have been wrong about this game being that close between Halflings and Alchemists. Alchemists beat Halflings by almost 20 points here.
Yeah, that's where, like I said, all my instincts go out the door, and when you've got that extra scoring, it throws a wrench and everything.
Yeah.
I just want to call out shout out to Raphael for playing a 13-minute game with extra scoring in the Premier League.
Yeah, and that's with like what looked like a technical issue in like the final turn or something. So
yeah. All right, where do I see how many? Simon converted 63 points to coins. Oh my god.
And he almost made it work. If Deep Finesse hadn't pulled out this kind of insane sort of connection, if Deep Finesse just loses that connection somehow, then that is like a dominating win.
Yeah, it was very good of Deep Finesse to prioritize connection when he did, because looking at the end of the board here, right, like there wasn't any other good place to connect, like once A7 and A5 got taken, that was a lot of the connection paths out the door. Yeah, amazing game by Deep Finesse, super great. 179 is a nut score, and yeah, to do it at a table this good, like, yeah, huge game. Super shout out to Deep Finesse. I've never done the whole getting people on for an interview thing, so I could see if that's possible. Hold on, you talk for a second.
Let's give it a shot. Yeah, so if we just like break down some of these stats, right? I mean, you guys can scroll along. I'm not in control of the screen here. One of the most interesting things is always like looking at the power actions breakdown. Deep Finesse this game took 4 single spade actions. So all you haters of Act 5 out there, enjoy. This 179-point game kind of like laughs in your face. I mean, as I was pointing out, like the single spade is worse than the double spade, but 2 single spades is only 2 power worse than the double spade. And if you can reliably get that single spade every round, like the issue is usually like if you take the single spade, then you're out of contention for like other spades later. But Deep Finesse was able to get the single spade 4 times, which is just really strong. If you look at the coins actions, like a little unusually, the winner only had to take 1 coins action. The coins actually fell to Halflings and Chaos Magicians more this game. I think one of the more interesting stats might be like how many coins and how many workers were gained by the players this game. One thing that I was kind of wondering about.
Hello?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, I think I might have just kicked Deranged out of the call. I don't know what I did. Deranged, can you hear us?
I can hear you, but can you still hear me?
Okay, yeah, you're back now. I've never done that before, and I just went for it.
Oh man, that's like a risky proposition.
Well, how's it going, Peter? Huge congrats.
Thanks. It was a little dicey to start. I started bidding with Chaos, and after the game, I think it's probably the 30 faction. We're just talking about it right now. So that was I'm glad someone rescued me from it.
Yeah. Well, you say dicey to start. I mean, so after that bid on Chaos, we were all kind of wondering, you bid 30 on Chaos, and everyone just immediately went to Halflings and Alchemists. But I mean, after that, once you got Dwarves for 30, things seemed to go pretty damn smoothly, right? You got an insane amount of leech, single spade, 2 workers. Like, yeah, I mean, how quickly did you realize like how smooth the game plan was?
Well, I think it's I didn't accurately judge that Chaos couldn't start D3 during the auction. But once I figured that out, it seemed pretty likely that this was how the game was going to go. There was going to be a leech party on the west, and then Chaos was going to have to dig in and then feed doors and alchemists a whole ton of leech afterwards. So that basically guaranteed a very strong start of doors.
Yeah.
And there were just a couple of key hexes that they needed to take, like D1, D2. Yeah, but like there's just too many grays on this map, so it doesn't really matter like which ones the doors take and which ones they do not, as long as they get the couple of key ones, which I did around 1 and round 2.
Yeah, when you're able to get that much leech early and then use that to secure the hexes, like that, I mean, that was where, because that was the real strength of like, I mean, just to highlight this for everyone watching, right? Like the huge strength of how much leech you got and how little leech Chaos Magicians got wasn't just like in the fact that it was leech. It was in the fact that you were able to use that leech to secure D1, which had just like massive consequences down through the whole rest of the game. The fact that you got there first.
Yeah.
What So I mean, we've got a funny question from chat, which is: are you getting sick of being interviewed yet? It feels like you're always on here at the end.
So it's pretty interesting to talk about like what the key decisions were throughout the game. And well, for me, one came pretty early. It was like going first, throwing the auction into the bidding pool, and also going first and bidding. Like I do like to mix that up a bit and not start bidding on the 30 faction. Not start bidding on the strongest faction every time, which I think in this case would be probably Alchemists. But yeah, it's not often that I accidentally trick myself into thinking that the 30 faction is is a good place to start.
Mm-hmm. So that was intentional.
You
You didn't think Chaos Magicians were the best, but you didn't you
gotta,
thought they were strong
yeah.
enough that they were worth bidding on.
Yes, I gotta keep people on their toes.
All right, so to everyone else in the Premier League listening, remember that. Take some notes.
I have a question for you, which is that you were saying that D1 and D2 were your key hexes. When did you realize that D2 was your connection hex? Like, was that clear to you from like dwelling placements that D2 was going to be needed?
Well, yeah. D1 and D2 ended up being the key hexes. D1 is definitely key for sure, because of the expansion scoring. Although I thought that I could be cut off of connection and having to play like a Water 1 game. D2 was more flexible. There were quite a number of connection hexes open, and it like D2. I guess I used it vaguely to say like any one of the connection hex would be the critical one, and ended up being D2. But there were some other options at that point. I think F6, and then possibly a backdoor option of like E6 into I5 that could also like be a connection thing. So it was just like the connection hex was key. The others didn't matter that much.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, you accepted like a 6 for 5 leech in like round 3 or something to go ahead and take D2. So like we were saying at the time that was like that seemed very clearly worth it in a game where you ended up getting a pretty lucrative amount of, you got 15 on distance, 15 points on distance and 12 points on network. So like securing that connection was like one of the most important things you did this game.
Yeah. Yep.
What about, can you talk a little bit about that decision? We, and I think a lot of people in the game are expecting the 2-key town in round 3 when you finish that town. Like, how much did you debate that versus, the 2 workers you ended up going for?
Yeah, I thought about it quite a bit. I felt like I was going to need a worker in round 4 because I had the digs incoming and then I had a couple of dwellings to build. I also thought that it would not be worthwhile to contest fire and water, and I wasn't quite sure how many points it was going to be worth on air. I thought I wasn't going to win air anyway, so that pushed it towards just taking the worker town. Because the air worker is going to come a bit late in round 5, but I needed to build out a bit more round 4.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because you were not concerned with water 1 at all, right? So you just wanted to get as many dwellings on the board as you could in round 4 so that you could build up those trading posts in round 5 and then, fight for network.
Yeah.
We got one question from chat as well.
So,
I think this is pretty interesting. Ultima wondering, you obviously played this smashing 179 game, but is there anything in your head, are there any mistakes that you think you made? What's your biggest mistake of this game?
I think there are probably a couple of minor ones that I haven't noticed yet, but I think overall everything went according to plan. So that's I think that's also kind of how you get these huge games where, I built my town, I built my second town, and then I got the hexes I wanted, I got to the corners, so it just kind of all went according to plan.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I didn't notice anything in particular. There was times where you maybe could have gotten bridge block. You didn't. There was you got some hexes dug away, but you had enough left over that you still managed to. You got the leech you needed at the right times. Yeah, I think you executed it super well.
One quick question about the round 5 pass, right? How much were you willing to risk losing that 2 workers 8-point tile at the end there? Because I know that it seemed like you were hesitating before you made that temple for Air 1, right?
Yes. Well, yeah, but temple for Air 1 was 3 extra points then, so that was going to be more that was going to be sort of equivalent to the big building town, and then the trading post was 4 points, so that's equivalent in score. I wasn't really too worried about 4 points. It was actually more Simon passing and taking the bridge. But I was trying to figure out if he could just build his 2 towns in the west without a bridge. And it turned out he did, so that was nice. Because the only thing I was worried about was Simon passing ahead of me and taking the bridge to build a sanctuary town.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Well, huge congrats on the game again. Awesome win. Yeah, I was saying during the stream that Premier League games usually end up being pretty tight top to bottom, and this one was just an absolute stomping. So, nice job, and see you next week. Are you on bye next week or?
Yeah, I'm playing next week.
Okay, sweet. I'll see you there then.
See you next week.
All right, yeah.
Good.
And thanks to everyone for tuning in to the stream. Catch us again. Catch me streaming again. Just at random times. Just follow me to figure out when I'm streaming. Catch Deranged over at twitch.tv/DERAGNED. You should maybe just put a link because someone's going to misspell it. And catch Deep Finesse, maybe streaming occasionally over at Terror Mystery Cats.
Terror Mystery Cats.
Yeah. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you all later.